Mind sports and entertainment video. Jumping in and jumping off really quickly. Just some random boxing topics. Some bite down boxing. Check me out, bitedownboxing.com. www.bitedownboxing.com. It's gonna be a busy week for me trying to cover all of these fights. So I'm not writing all this stuff up. I see the Matchroom Triple G fight, press conference, the undercard press conference is going on right now. It's a lot of stuff to cover and stay on top of for one person. So, and it's not a lot of payoff, honestly, in doing some of it. But anyway, speaking of DAZN, I'm not going to get into too many details, but just my take on it. But you know, they came out with it being Canelo and Smith Saturday, maybe even Triple G and Zaramita Friday. You know, they rolled out this 4-month subscription with this pay-per-view component to to their pricing, and it's $69 to buy the Canelo and Callum Smith fight, and then you also get 4 months of a 4-month subscription to to DAZN, to the app. I have seen a couple, starting last week, I saw an ad for Anthony Joshua and Pulev on TV during football. And then I think I saw 2 DAZN apps for Canelo yesterday during the NBA preseason game, Golden State and the Kings. So that's interesting. But, I just see a lot of the channels and podcasts tearing and celebrating the fact that DAZN is struggling, and every move that they make is interpreted as them going away, whatever. Fine. I'm just saying, like I said, from a business perspective, I see a company trying to fight. You can see that it's a shift to an international product, focusing on women, on women's boxing, and mixing things up, trying to find a way to survive. What I wanted to say was the major mistake that they made, regardless of what all you want to bash them for, and the haters, the naysayers, the detractors, tearing down the app and the business model and whatever. The major mistake was that they made was they took the biggest pay-per-view performing shows, or the best performing pay-per-view fights, and said that's what we're going after. And that was fights that did over 1 million pay-per-view buys, and they said that's how we're going to cash in to try to position ourselves to go after the major sports as some of those long-term TV deals start coming available. That's what we're going to do. And that's the biggest mistake they made, because they soon found out that the boxing diehard market in North America and the US was probably like 10%. It was less than 10% of what they projected. Like I said, they started way up here, 1.5 million, 2.2 million, or 2 million or 2 million. They thought all of that was up for grabs. These people are gonna buy in. It's simple math. You take 2 million, you take 2 million monthly subscribers, multiply that by $9, you can make a hell of a boxing schedule. But the number was, like I said, it was probably 5% of that. So that was whoever figured that up, whoever did that projection, whoever did that study, and went in and presented that to everybody, and that's what they rolled with. That was the premise that they started with. They messed up badly, and now they've been fighting this good fight for the last 2 years, and we'll see what happens. Speaking of other network business or network topic, I saw where Showtime actually has announced they have a showbox coming up on the other side of the, in the new year. So I think that signals that Showtime, despite you saw those horrible numbers for Colbert and Arboleda, 169,000 or something, but they're coming back. And I love Showbox. I'm gonna be honest, man. I like Showbox as much as Showtime Championship Boxing. What's good, KO? So that's it. That was my thoughts on DAZN. They just horribly or grossly overestimated who they could attract to become subscribers. Horribly. They thought above 1 million, and it's like 150,000 or less really diehard boxing fans, where boxing is like their NCAA, basketball, football, NFL. I can tell. I listen to some other channels. I listen to some other podcasts, and I realize what they don't talk about or what fighters they don't know, and even them. And this is not a complaint. This is just the reality of the situation. Everybody doesn't care and doesn't sit around and watch all of the boxing that's being offered. That's just the facts, you know? Anyway, let me get on to these other 3 points because I want to close with something kind of important. The Triple G and Zara Mita fight that's on Friday. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, Triple G has a title. He has a world title. He's going for a historical, achievement. Zara Mita is not a big puncher. Jonathan Banks, the trainer of Triple G? They just want the dude to look good to see what they can possibly do next. He doesn't seem interested to going up to super middleweight. Who knows if they try to, Andre, who knows if they look into that fight? Who knows what Canelo is going to do in 2021? If they could put together that trilogy, who knows? I'm not a big Triple G hater. I'm going to tune in and check him out just because. That's it. That's all I got on that. Canelo and Callum Smith. Looking at the pictures yesterday, I wrote an article several years ago. Stupid article. But just kind of, actually it was before the first fight with Triple G. And I was a little dismissive of some things about Canelo. But looking at his size disadvantage going up against Callum Smith, it's hard to ignore that. Gotta let this dog in. My bad. Looking at the size differential, you watch a lot of fights. If you look at some of these undercards, some of these prospects that are getting matched up and trying to do their thing early on in their campaigns, you see smaller fighters fight taller guys, and sometimes they don't know how to make it work. You've seen a couple of prospects who lost dropped the early fight or had a draw because they fought a fighter that was 3 or more inches taller than them. A lot of times, if you watch a lot of prospects, a lot of newcomers, guys with less than 10 fights, a lot of times they're fighting guys, they do it in reverse. They get those guys and have them fight opponents that are 3 and 4 inches smaller than them, and to give them that height advantage. But that's one thing that I'm looking for here in this fight is just how does Canelo take away the tail of the tape advantages of Callum Smith. We know that Canelo can do it all, We know that he has decent power. That's another interesting thing. What will his power be up at super middleweight against one of the guys we perceive as being a top 3 super middleweight? Can you knock these guys out? Can he make them respect his power? You got to find some things here to be interested in. And check out, can Callum Smith come over here and change the stigma against UK fighters? The one thing that's kind of promising is Smith's brother, Beefy or Liam, years ago. That went into like the 7th or 8th round, didn't it? 7th, 8th, 9th round. And I think Smith is a lot better than his brother. So I think we get some rounds here. Canelo's gas tank fighting for a full 3 minutes of a round is something that he doesn't always do. I mean, his former promoter, Oscar came out. You know, one thing that I do catch with Canelo, man, he always has his knee in that sleeve. And I'm always wondering, you know, what kind of cardio is he really doing to ever really be able to do anything with his stamina and improve his ability to fight 3 minutes or, you know, 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes and 45 seconds of every round. You saw, I was dumbfounded at the pace that he fought against Sergey Kovalev. Even though that fight ended in a stoppage, I was shocked to see a shell of Kovalev sit there and jab him and work from outside that late into the fight. So Canelo has his own pace that he fights in, and will it work here against a younger guy who should be looking at this as the biggest fight of his life, and should go out there and try to push and force the issue in a number of different ways. So it's some intriguing things there to look at. The one thing that this card takes a hit, it's a little light now with the situation with Julio Cesar Martinez falling off of this card. I believe he was supposed to be the co-main event. He's one of my favorite fighters to watch. He's gone. I believe he tested positive for COVID. So that does take a hit away from the depth of this card. Everybody else on here is pretty young, pretty earlier in their development. I think Diego Pacheco was on there, I believe. Alexis Espinosa, a couple of super middleweights, both of them around 9 to 10 wins each. So those guys are you know, they're in the pipeline. You know, you see what you see with them. But with Julio Cesar Martinez falling off of that card, it really kind of kills my undercard interest in that card. Now, what I wanted to say, and I'm getting ready to get on off of here, man, is what I was saying earlier with the small number, the small size of diehard boxing fans in America. It just being the truth. So I got an interview on here with Stephan Shaw. He fights tomorrow night on NBC Sports Network. He's a heavyweight. I think the interview, and I know I got a small channel. I understand that, obviously. And I know I'm not all out on social media the way I was last year. I'm tired of posting links. I'm tired of, you post stuff on Facebook. People they don't care. Nobody cares. So for me to go around on Twitter posting 15, 20 links, that stuff takes time, and the payoff on that is minimal. You can put names in there, you can hashtag, you can tag people, you can do all you want. It's hard to get people to click on stuff. But I put the interview up. I got it up a little late. I think it's got 13, 14 views on there. Probably 6 or 7 of those views are me going to the video to see if anybody is watching it. So people don't, like I said, people don't watch these undercards, these in big numbers, and a lot of with a lot of viewers. So I'm sitting here, I posted it up. I wrote an article last night that I put up on BiteDownBoxing.com trying to tell people about Stephan Shaw. And I wonder how these dudes do it. I really do. I wonder how they make this thing work. And I want to tell you one of the things that I talked about with Shaw. He's from St. Louis, Missouri. He trains in San Diego, California. I can't remember. I've talked to him a few times. I think his main trainer has a gym out in San Diego. His dad is involved with them because his grandfather used to be a trainer, I believe, that taught a lot of other trainers throughout the Midwest back in the day. But his father is with him. But he told me for this camp, he said that they went out to Big Bear and they rented a log cabin for 2 or more weeks. He wanted to get in some special training, elevation, whatever. He wanted to get that isolation, whatever. So I'm sitting here like, just quick math in my head. How much does it cost for him to go to Big Bear and rent this cabin and for 2 or more weeks? Him and his dad, they got to eat. They had to travel to get out there. Who's paying for all of this? His fight tomorrow night on NBC, I'm not trying to pat this man's pocket, but his fight tomorrow night on NBC Sports Network, is that a $75,000 purse? Is it a $60,000 purse? Is it $35,000? Is it $120,000? I don't know. I ain't gonna ask the man, but I would imagine for him, for everything that I just laid out, just food, the cabin, traveling to Big Bear, that's probably, that might be $3,500, $5,000 right there. If they caught a plane out there, who paid for that? This is when we don't tune in and watch none of this stuff. When we don't, when when NBC Sports goes and puts these shows on and come back and see that only 80,000 people tuned in. It's kind of hard to make a commitment to this. Anyway, so then he says, he spent his time in Big Bear trying to get his camp together. He didn't take it wasn't any other fighters that he was working with up there, because he was mainly doing conditioning stuff. But he said it was one or two other people that was with the team. So then he says they go down to San Diego to do his gym work and to train. So he had to bring in one or two sparring partners. One of them was a kid out of Ohio named, his last name is Hines. Ronnie Hines? I think his name is Ronnie Hines. But you have to pay Ronnie Hines to show up and spar every day. You have to feed Ronnie Hines. You have to lodge Ronnie Hines. And whether or not it was one or two other fighters, you had to pay for all of that. Again, I keep asking who. I'm thinking this dude didn't fight. He fought last December. Shaw's last fight was December 5th in New York City. Again, probably not a fight that was a $60,000 or $70,000 purse. He's got 2 kids and a wife. Who's paying for all of this? How do you keep doing this? He said in the interview, he's like, I thought about getting a part-time job, but he's trying to make a go of it in this thing. So anyway, they do the camp. They do some weeks in San Diego. Again, his dad is with him. They're staying together. If you gotta get a hotel room or whatever for 3 or 4 weeks, like I said, they gotta feed each other. When you're not at home, you have to, it costs more to feed yourself on a daily basis. Hope I'm illustrating how all of these costs add up. And all of this is just to go fight this dude Pinchuk tomorrow night and see how he can further his career and get more exposure and move into the top 15 of the sanctioning bodies and actually get one of these more, a fight against a bigger opponent. I sit here and I talk to some of these fighters, and I'm like, man, I don't know how they do it, man. I don't know how the money adds up. I mentioned in the article, in the article that's on BiteDownBoxing.com, he was on an undercard. I was shocked. I go into BoxRec because he told me during the interview, he said he used to be with Al Heyman. I'm like, oh, okay. So I go back and see what his debut fight was in December of 2013. And I pull it up. Jojo Diaz was on there. He was on the card. Errol Spence Jr. was on the card. Jamal Charlo was on the card. Josecito Lopez was on the card. All of these names that you've seen working consistently the last 3 or 4 years. And 2 dudes just finished pay-per-views, headlining pay-per-view cards. Jojo Diaz is the IBF super featherweight champion right now. Everybody on that card took off. Now, all of them has 7 or more fights than Stephan Shaw, but I'm just like, damn, bro, you saw everybody's career take off, and you still sitting here fighting on Fight TV, UFC Fight Pass. Here in Columbus, Ohio last year, he fought in this livestock building where I saw him in person. And I'm just like, damn, I don't know how y'all do this. I don't know how y'all make a commitment to this right here. It's tough. But anyway, man, check the article out. At the bottom of the article, I'll put some bullet points on there with some links. I tell you what topic we were talking about. And I put the link to, you can just click on the link. It'll take you right to the video. You don't have to sit there and waste an hour of your time. I know your time is important. I know you don't have, all kind of time for everything. But it's about 6 or 7 highlights on there in the interview that I thought, if you like boxing, if you want to know the backstory on these guys, if you want to know some of the business challenges, if you want to know the disadvantage depending on who your promoter is, what your network affiliation is, tough. So all of that is at the bottom of the article. And I just invite you to take a moment to check that out and find a reason. They gotta give y'all a reason to care about these guys and a reason for you to tune in. He might be important to me because I saw him in Columbus last year and I saw him knock somebody out. So I'm gonna come on my channel and say, hey, I saw this heavyweight. Or other times I got somebody like Charles Conwell, who's from Cleveland, Ohio, from my home state, and I'm big on him because I've seen him fight in Columbus once, and I've seen him fight in Indiana, and he was gracious enough to do a live stream with me. So I understand. It's a lot of cats with channels in Texas, and they have 8-0 fighters, 6-0 fighters as guests on their live streams, and they don't get the best numbers either. So I understand these guys mean something to me because I have a connection to them, or I've interacted with them before. So I'm just trying to do my best to give to shine some light on other individuals who are out here and who need some attention, who need you to know about them. So that's part of my angle to talking about boxing and covering boxing. So check it out. I'd encourage you to do it, and then tune in tomorrow night. If the dude looks great tomorrow night, maybe there's something big in the dude's future, in the near future, possibly. Quick word before I shut this down. I did just exchange a couple of text messages with Charles Conwell, who will be in the main event tomorrow night. It's some stuff on Ring City USA's Instagram account. They got like a 5-minute interview on there with him. Patrick Day, their fight back in October of 2019. Patrick Day passed away, as a result of injuries head injuries that he sustained in that fight. And it's kind of even with him, man. It's challenging. Every time this young man gets a microphone put in front of his face, he has to be associated with the death of Patrick Day. And the clip that they have on Ring City USA's Instagram page, after the Quran, I don't know his last name, but the dude asked him the question, and he was just man, I don't want to talk about that no more. So I'm just saying, man, it's got to be a challenge for him. Here he is at the outset of his career, working himself into contention. He's a good dude, down to earth brother, and fate, put him in this situation where now his career, much of his early career is going to be associated with the passing away of a guy that a lot of us, really liked as a person, as a human being, and who passed away at like 27 years old. And every time we talk to Charles Conwell, he has to be taken back to that experience. I think that's kind of unfair, and I don't know how he, I don't know how he moves past that. Kovalev, I guess he killed a guy in the ring or in the sport, and he years later, his last 10 or 12 fights, it was mentioned less and less and less. So maybe there's some relief in the future for Conwell, but it was just kind of painful to see him go through, revisiting that. Here it is tomorrow night. He has his next big look in a main event, and just because, that question has to come, and he's got to kind of go through that emotionally real quick. I think that's got to be a challenge. That's got to be a challenge. Anyway, bite down boxing, man. Don't let them count you out. Check out that article on www.bitedownboxing.com. It's snippets in there to go to the interview, learn something new about a guy who could make some noise. Malik Scott from the Deontay Wilder camp. He actually said something on one of the Instagram posts and said, the best kept secret in the division is getting ready to be seen by everybody. So the dude can fight. Nasty in the ring, good power, good jab, good fundamentals. The dude can fight. He really can. So I'm hoping he shows out tomorrow night. And, Thursday night or Friday morning, hopefully there's a new name. I know Jermaine Franklin, no work for him in 2020. Damani Rock, no work for him in 2020. Jared Anderson got out there, got some work this year. The Jeremiah Milton cat, I think he got in. He's a newcomer, like 1 or 2 fights. He got on UFC Fight Pass one night. But it's sparse. It's sparse out there. So these guys need our help. They need our attention. 1,